Good, good evening, everyone. My name is Nyandwi Jean. I have a lead number of 2401478. So I'm going to present the five theories of second language acquisition. Learning theories about second language acquisition. Over the last 5 years, several theories have been put forward to explain the process by which children learn to understand and speak a language. They can also summarize it as the follow. The one is behaviorist theory. The behaviorist psychologists developed the theories while carrying out a series of experiments on animals. They observed that rats and birds, for example, could be taught to perform various tasks by encouraging habit forming. Researchers rewarded desirable behavior. This was known as the positive reinforcement. And undesirable behavior was punished or simply not rewarded as negative reinforcement. So the B.F. Kina, as the behaviorist researcher, proposed this theory as an explanation for language acquisition in humans in verbal behavior. He stated, the basic processes and regulations which give verbal behavior its special characteristics are now thoroughly well understood. Such of the experimental work responsible for this advance has been carried out on other species, but the result has proved to be surprisingly free of the species restrictions. Recent work has shown that the method can be extended to human behavior without serious modifications. Skinner suggested that a child imitates the language of its parents or carriers success-free. Attempts are rewarded because an adult who recognizes a word spoken by the child will praise the child and all will eat. What is asking for successful intelligences are therefore reinforced, while unsuccessful ones are forgotten. So there are the limitations of behaviorist theory. While there must be some truth in Skinner's explanation, there are many objectives to it. Language is based on the set of structures or rules which could not be worked out simply by imitating individual utterances. The mistakes made by children revealed that they are not simply imitating, but actively working out and applying rules. For example, a child who says drink it instead of drunk is not copying an adult, but first over applying rule. The child has discovered that past tense verbs are formed by adding D or T sound to the base form. The mistake occurs because there are regular verbs which do not before in the way. Such forms are often referred to intelligent mistakes or virtual variants. The vast majority of the children go through some stages of language acquisition. They appear to be a definite sequence of steps. We refer a developmental milestones. Apart from the certain extreme cases, see the case of the gene. The sequence seems to be largely unaffected by the treatment. The classic demonstration comes from American psychologist David M. Knell, The structure in the question here involved negative verbs. For example, the child didn't like me. Mother say. Mother say. No. Say, nobody likes me. Child. Nobody can't like me. The 18th repetition of this dialogue between mother and children, but mother continued to ask people, baby, no, say, no, listen carefully, say, nobody likes me, Julie. Oh, nobody does not like me. So you see, that means the behavior and limitation of behaviorists, sometimes they can also make somewhat challenging. Few children receive more explicit grammatical concern. Parents are interested in politeness and truthful, according to the Brown, Cousin, and the Bergi. It seems to be true value rather than well-performed syntax that clearly governs explicit verbal reinforcement by the parents, which hind admittedly paradoxical. The fact that the usual product of the such training schedule in another whose speech is highly grammatical but not breathe truth, setting law and carbon. So, there are evidence for a critical period for language acquisition. Children who have not acquired language by the age of about 7 will never enter culture. The most famous examples that of Jenny, discovered in 1970 at the age of 18. She had been severely neglected, threw up in isolation, and deprived of normal human contact. Of course, she disabled and also underdeveloped in many ways. During subsequent attempts at the rehabilitation, her carers tried to teach her to speak. Despite some success, mainly in learning vocabulary, she never became a fluent speaker, failing to acquire the grammatical competencies of the language. Let's see about imitation and the positive reinforcement should be applied in behavior risk. Children learn by imitating and also repeating what they hear. Positive reinforcement and also collections also play a major role in language acquisition. Children do imitate others. Repetition or new words and phrases is the basic nature of children's speech. This is the behaviorist view popular in the 40 years and 50 years, but a challenge this imitation alone can possibly account for language acquisition. Children often make grammatical mistakes that they couldn't possibly have had. Cookies are gooder than bread. Bear, take the toy, going to the store, don't giggle me. The hypothesis will not account for the many instances when the others do not catch their children's language skills. A positive reinforcement doesn't seem to speed up the language acquisition process. Children do not respond to or produce meta-language. The special form of the language or the set of the symbols used when describing the structure of language until 3 or 4 after the main portion of the grammar has been mastered. So there are some behaviorist precepts early. The social environment is very crucial in learning language learning. Behavioral precept number 2: the teacher or facilitator has a lot to play in the language learning activity. Number 3 is errors must be corrected immediately. They are not permitted in learning. Number 4 is frequent repetition is an essential to effective learning. So let us explain another theory, which is inner twist or mental rest theory. In the theory was developed in America by Naomi Chomsky. As a result of the weakness in the behaviorist theory, the inner twist or mental rest theory was reduced. The major principles or tenet or mental rest theory that and everybody learns a language not because they are a subject or a similar condition process, but because they possess inner bone capacity, which prompt them to acquire language as a normal, natural process. Naomi Chomsky published a criticism of the behaviorist theory in 1957. In addition to the sum of the argument stated above, they focused particularly on the impoverished language output. Children receive adults do not typically speak or grammatically complete sentences. In addition, the child hears a lot of small samples of language. Chomsky conducted that the children must be in a born focato for language acquisition. According to this theory, the process is biologically determined. The human species has evolved brain whose neural circuit contain linguistic formation of a birth. The child's natural predisposition to learn a language is triggered by hearing speech, and the children's structured brain is enabled to interpret what is they hear according to the understanding principles or structures is already contains. This natural faculty has become known as the language acquisition device. So Chomsky did not suggest that English trade is inborn known common principles. So for an example, the lad already contains the concept of the verb tense. By the reasoning such forms of worked, prayed, and repeated, the children will form the hypothesis that the past tense of the verbs is formed by adding the sound T or D or ID to the base form. This in turn will lead to the various errors mentioned above. It hardly seems saying that the process is unconscious. Chomsky does not envisage the small children in its code working out grammatical rules consciously. Chomsky crudent breaking theory remaining at the center of the debate about language acquisition. However, it has been modified above Chomsky himself and by others. Chomsky's original position was that the lead contains specific knowledge about language. Then Isaac Sloby has proposed that it may be the more like a mechanism for working out rules of language. It seems me that the child inborn, not with a set of linguistic categories, but with some sort of the processes mechanism, a set of processes and interfere rules, if you will, that uses the process linguistic data. Those mechanisms are such that applying them to the input data, the child ends up with something which is the member of the class or human language, the linguistic. So there are here an evidences to support the INT'L theory. Work on the several areas of the language study for provide the support for the ideas of innate language faculty. Three types of evidence are offered here. Silobin has pointed out that human anatomy is peculiarly adapted to the production of speech. Unlike our nearest relative, the great apes, we have evolved the vocal tract, which allows the precise articulation of the wide lepotiles of the vocal sound. Neuroscience has also identified specific areas of brain with distinct linguistic functions, notably Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Stroke victims provide variable data depending on the site of the brain damage. They may suffer a range of language dysfunction from the problem with finding words of inability to interrupt syntax. An experiment said that the teaching chimpanzees to communicate using the plastic symbols or manual gestures have proved controversial. It seems likely that our aged cousins, while able to learn individual words, have a little no longer a grammatical competence. So, they are also the studies of the sign languages used by the deaf have shown that from the being include gestures replacing spoken words. Those are the complex full grammatical languages in their own right. Sign language may exist in several dialects. Children learning to sign as the first language pass through similar stages to the hearing children is learning spoken language. So let's see about limitations of Chomsky theory. Chomsky's work on the language was theoretical. He was interested in grammar, and much of his work consists of complex explanations of grammatical rules. He did not study real children. The theory relies on children being exposed to language, but it takes not account of the interaction between children or their carers. None doesn't recognize the reasons why a child may work or wanted to speak the functions of language. So let's see about the conspiracy theories have placed greater emphasis on ways. The innateness theory involved the belief of innateness of the brain or certain linguistic features. This theory ko mukinze kare igikaho nyine ushyireho urugi, igikaho ushyireho urugi.